Good evening. You're watching, of course, another great Beach Brothers show.
So look, the Beach Brothers Show is a show where we deal with Virginia business and politics.
Well, I'm Conrad Chesviner. I'm a Hampton Roads political activist. Best ideas for community improvement happen to drive me.
I help folks that are approaching retirement and in their retirement years.
I have what I call the empowerment agenda, and that means that everything I do is focused on empowerment. You want to give a salute to Tally and Twine. It's time for you to have a high quality watch made in Virginia, made in Portsmouth, Virginia, from Tally and Twine. We want to say thanks to Southern Volkswagen Greenbrier for their great level of sponsorship. If you need a new car, you don't need to go far. Southern Volkswagen Greenbrier. And ladies, if you want your brows to say, wow, check out IamLitaWee.com. Microblading by IamLitaWee.com. I'm Seiko Varner. I do credit fixes, tax resolutions. I lend private money to real estate investors, and we do debt consolidations. If you need any of these services, contact me as provided. And now it's time to get beachy on the Beach Brothers Show.
Welcome back. I'm Conrad Chesviner, member of the Hampton Roads Battlecast Community Action Team. Let me throw that little image up there on the screen. Co-founder of the Virginia Beach Progressive Caucus. There it is right there. Also a member of the Virginia Beach Democratic Committee. I want to remind you that tomorrow there'll be quite a stormy day. You'll need a great car for those stormy days. You'll get a great car after stopping by to see Charlie Roy at Southern Volkswagen in Chesapeake. Those Volkswagens are great for safe driving and good quality in these high inflation times. So stop by, see Charlie Roy, and get yourself set for 757 driving. Now, the past week or so has shown the General Assembly nearing the end of its usual year sessions, but we're moving now into more of a budgetary type phase. This will be a particularly interesting year because of the divided state legislature that we have. The legislature is divided between the House and the Senate, but the House is Republican and the Senate is Democrat. The governor is Republican too, so it's a very divided government set. So that'll make for a very interesting way that they'll handle all the budget. Also, in Virginia Beach, the English as a second language program was unanimously voted for this past Tuesday at school board, but not before over 50 residents took to the board, students included, to largely decry social media comments by one of the board members, Vicki Manning. Her comments, ironically, before voting to continue the program, were that continuing to educate South American students via this program was unsustainable. Now remember, year to year, the city of Virginia Beach has about $50 or so million in unspent funds that it reverts back into its budget. And the English as a second language program only cost about $1 million this past year. To single its budgetary characteristics out by isolating South American students, it was an issue and citizens spoke up about it. I'll continue to monitor the latest on that and other Virginia Beach political issues. Now, on the way home from work tonight, I'll listen to the Norfolk State men's basketball team defeat Morgan State and make it to the MEAC tourney final tomorrow, March 12th at 1 p.m. And that coaching staff and those players exemplify solid student-athlete cultivation, a fine collection of young men. And well-rounded young men are why tonight's guest is quite important. He's Samuel Barclift. Hailing from Virginia Beach, Mr. Barclift is building a community presence with over 15 years of youth sports coaching and league development. We'll talk tonight about leading youngsters and what that means for a community as they grow. So let me go ahead and bring them on the screen right about now. How you doing, sir? Thanks for joining the Beach Brothers Show. How are you? And how was your week?
Doing very well, Conrad. Thank you for having me tonight. Week's been good. Been very busy, as yourself probably, and just enjoying every minute of it.
Do you have many games this week as part of the squad?
Yeah, this week has been a full week. This week has been the end of our rec season, which I really, really love because our organization is a lot of rec players that turn pretty good. And this week we had our last practice for the last two teams that we have, and they were good practices. At the end of the practice, the kids decided they wanted to not just play around, but they really wanted to get ready for their playoffs. So,
Mhm.
that was something to look forward to. And tonight we had a game. I actually just got back from it, and we actually did unfortunately lose. That was our 5 to 7 year olds, which,
Mhm.
the the goal was they are smiling. So I think that we
That's a good thing.
accomplished the goal, you know.
Mhm. Now, you and I met not that long ago. I was a sports management helper for Virginia Beach Parks and Rec during a Saturday basketball game, and you helped run the clock while doing some coaching, sort of like coaching and pushing buttons and telling guys what to do on the thing, and that was pretty cool to watch. We also were able to chat about sports for a little bit, just history and high school, college, or just opinions and stuff. It was in that moment I knew that you'd be a pretty good guest and a great guest, actually, because you played a great spot in this sort of grand community scheme. So, if you could tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, both academically and athletically.
Well, definitely appreciate that, Conrad. Well, that particular day when we met was my 12U team for the city of Virginia Beach. That's a team put together of some rec players and some players that play on my AAU level, but nothing short of just good friends wanting to get together and just play. Myself personally, I started out coaching as much as about 15 years ago. I was asked to help out, just a parent on the sideline, enjoying the game just like everybody else, and just quiet. And I think one of the coaches, his name was Mike Smith. He actually hailed me one day and was like, "Hey, man, why don't you come help out?" So I helped out. I'm the type of person that I'm not, you know, above getting help or someone telling me what to do. So I had very good direction, had some good fundamental coaches ahead of me that showed me the important things to kind of try to pass along to these youngins. And from there, I started coaching T-ball. I started coaching T-ball with some 4 and 5 year olds with my youngest son. And that was a challenge, a brand new coach thrown out there with a bunch of 4 and 5 year olds, and you can imagine that. And it was, but I will tell you the truth. Most of those 4 and 5 year olds, believe it or not, are still with me to this day. Most of them are 15, 16 at this point. And, it's a blessing to see something like that. It's rare. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in. Myself personally, I played sports in school. Baseball was my calling, believe it or not. I coach a lot of basketball, but baseball was kind of like what I hung my hat on. I grew up locally, graduated from Tallwood, went to TCC 2 years, bachelor's, associate, sorry, science. And then I moved on to ODU, 2 semesters there. Kind of found my calling in the more engineering part of everything. Ended up going to a technical vocational school for about 4 years. Got my master's in electrical engineering, and kind of went from there. I was pretty good with mind and math. With that being said, I took a lot of the things I learned from running crews, running big scale jobs, and I kind of applied it to youth sports. You fundamentally look at the small things that you need to look at and just apply. You know.
Now, bear with me just a little bit. The past few times I've been doing this show, the camera would just die on me. It wouldn't give me any warnings. It would just say it was unplugged, even though it's a laptop. So I don't know how it would get unplugged. And I had to keep pushing buttons to try to get on. So if you see me randomly go off, but you still hear my voice, I'm still here in the room in order for that to happen. So I will be able to carry on. That wasn't my chance. The Mike Smith from Hampton, right? To the Hampton Crabbers Mike Smith or a different Mike Smith?
Different Mike Smith. Different Mike Smith. a community leader nonetheless.
Oh, he definitely is. I would definitely want to reach out to him to get him on the show too. He recently retired, and over what 30, 40 years of coaching, that would be a pretty good show. But you yourself, you have done it for about 15 years. Was that a sudden inspiration for you? Were like, I like playing sports, but I know I want to go into coaching. Or even before that, even while playing, you're like, when I get out of this, I'm going to be a coach.
Well, I'll be honest. I was the type of player where I wasn't as good as my teammates, but I was a good teammate. And viewing how the scale of sports has been over the years in the Hampton Roads area, tremendous talent, without a doubt, in this area. And that kind of can breed a lot of different energies, the competitive aspect of basketball, football, baseball. And I kind of saw it from the eyes of a kid that was on a team with really good players. I played with, I don't even want to shout out certain players because it's not about that, but I played with some good players that went on to play higher level sports. And, I was on those teams, and I saw how some of the coaches handled me in a good way. And I saw the mixture of the competitive aspect and the aspect of a player like me who was not as good as the other players I played with. Just physically didn't have the same height, maybe. For example, one of the teammates I played with, John Gilchrist from the Salem area, ended up going to Maryland. I mean, these players were born with such tremendous talent, and I was allowed to play along with them. And it kind of taught me as a grown man that everybody has a part. Everybody can play a part. And I kind of saw how, like, some adults, and that's not anyone's fault. I'm not perfect at all, just speaking on how it came about. But some adults kind of took the fun out of it for some kids. Some kids, maybe they just weren't good enough, or maybe they had to do something that required something special, and maybe that kid just needed some time to develop it. I'm the type of person that's like, well, this is when you develop it. This is your time to do it. This is your time to get out there and do it, and I'm always for that. I'm for the weakest kid playing with the strongest kid. There's something that they're going to give. So years ago, I saw my oldest son, who's about to be 20, 23, about 23 now, in about another week. And he was about to graduate high school. And it was the end of the year, and a lot of the kids that he was playing with were about to graduate and going to different schools. And they were all just talking. And it was the end of the year, and they were just all getting together talking about, I wish we could play some more ball. I wish we could do one more thing before everybody decides to get ready to go to college and split up and do different things. And, at that time, there wasn't a lot of things for 15, 16s. There wasn't a Virginia Beach Sports Center. There was a Virginia Beach Fieldhouse. So we actually got together, got some uniforms, went ahead and said, hey, let's get together, go have some fun. Let's take the local kids together and have some fun. We didn't need to go out draft players. We didn't need to go pick up players, recruit. It was about those particular players just getting out there, having some fun. And we did go with it. And it came from a very organic place. And we just kept committed. I have a host of coaches that helped me along the way. And that commitment carried on for years. We're not worried about having a gym or a facility. We had consistent practices Monday through Friday almost. Outside, inside, rain. If it's cold, we wearing jackets, we out there. And that purely bred something special. It told me that you didn't have to be this big time player, all the hype, all this and that. You ain't got to be on all these different teams. If you put the hard work in, your worth is going to dictate that. And I'd always stood by that. I'm not for all the extra. I get it, but I'm not for all the extra, because I believe if you're going to be a part of something that powerful, you need to be able to figure it out. So my whole idea of coaching, it all spirited and grew from that type of mindset. And I definitely had a lot of support along the way. And that kind of brings it there.
Now, I don't want to digress too much, but you did mention John Gilchrist. So I'm curious if you played on the Salem team or any like AAU teams.
No, it was an AAU team that we played together. And then we also played on some rec teams together. Not at Salem. I actually went to Tall.
Because I went to Salem, and my freshman year, their football team got pretty good, and I just missed being able to watch their basketball team win a state championship with John Gilchrist and Antonio Johnson, and some of those. So I briefly wanted to shout out my alma mater, Salem. And of course, I was going to be like, well, you went to Tallwood, so you might know Rodney Landers. And, well, Darius James was later on. He will later go on to Old Dominion and have a pretty good career there. But enough for my digressions for that. Now, you have been sort of youth coaching for about 15 years. You mentioned how you started with it. Along the way, do you sort of know how you got the hang of it, how you got good, and could you tell us more about your success specifically with coaching over the years?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my success honestly came from day one. Over the years, it's flattering. You know, I look at it now. There was years ago when I was coaching, and there's some I hate to be all over the place, but I go back to my early years in coaching of some flag football. And I know it's flag, and we talk about tackle and all this other stuff. When I tell you, and I can Zebediah Clark, he can back me up on this, and I'm gonna shout him out on that because there's not a ton of people like that, and he will tell you we was on that field years ago, him and his son X, and it's flag football. But I talk about this player, and anybody that knows about that player gets what I'm saying about this. It came down to knowing the fundamentals. It came down to having a team, that whole fundamental just mindset. That's what it came down to. And I think that bred the most success. I mean, we had 5-year-olds running reversals, throwing the ball. It wasn't flagged like you think. It was excellent flag football. And from that moment was some of my best successes because not just with the football, but we also had huge success in baseball, tremendous success. We used to go to Creeds all over the area and man, we used to be special. And the success that I'm getting to is those kids are still playing a sport. Those kids are still interested. They're still intrigued. I'm talking about a lot of kids. Yeah, we went from baseball transitioning to football, transitioning to basketball, and the kids continue playing. You figure you get one team, okay, you figure there's 12 kids maybe on it. Well, we would get 3 teams, 12 kids, and all 3 teams, all 12 kids would stay next year. 3 teams, 12 kids, they'd all stay. It's that big. And it's not from any bragging or anything. It's just kids getting out there doing it. And those are the successes. Those are the achievements. That's kind of the reason I stay in this lane, not to say anything negative or positive about anything different, whether it be high school, middle school, college level coaching. That everyone has their niche and where their energy is best used. You know, I've always thought my youngest son, me and his brains are we watch basketball games and we break the games down. We're sitting there watching the game, breaking down the play before it happens. That's the fun and enjoyment we have. And that's the type of coach I am. That's the type of coach I try to make these young youth try to become. You know, there's times in my games, and these are the successes. There's times in some of my games I can remember at the Virginia Beach Sports Center where I would have so many teams and coaches, but not as many coaches as teams. And because I don't let everybody, and not everyone's a coach, and not everyone needs to be around everybody's kid, plain and simple. And we get spread thin sometimes. And I'll have some of my veteran or older players have stepped up and coached some of the younger teams. And that's been the celebration. That's been the win, you know, because when I see that, I think, this is marvelous. You know, that's going to feed over to generations to come. That's the type of humans we want out here. We want unselfish, not motivated for what they can obtain or people clapping them up. We want that person they didn't get that glory or that thank you, but they knew good and well their support and what they did translated to something that made somebody else benefit. And that's where my biggest successes have came from.
Back on the screen. All right. Now, you may have touched on that just a little bit in that answer that you might have entertained different types of coaching. So leaving youth to say go into public school, say literally a middle school coach or literally a high school coach. What if you did you ever think about maybe you might depart to try that out and then see if you can work your way up a ladder, or pretty much you knew I this is just something that is too important for me to leave it.
I'll be honest with you. I'd love to do all levels of coaching. But I wouldn't leave it. I'd still be able to. I'd manage. I would still manage to do what I'm doing now. I'd still, if I were coaching at a elementary school level or middle school level or high school level or private school level, I would manage. And that's been what I've learned over the years. The consistency, it's just that you just put, if you have a goal, you just achieve it. And the way things are set up, I don't even feel like I'm done or even near where I'm even about to scratch on that yet. Like that's still something that I might still push forward to because I got so much time and I'm learning so much, and honestly, certain levels I'm not ready. I'm a heck of a coach when it comes down to certain things, but and I'm a heck of a learner, and I'm getting the X's and O's, and I'm getting some of the things that I never was that powerful at, admittedly, but I'm getting them, anyone that knows me knows I'm a very quick learner, so I'm honestly just not probably where I need to 100% be yet. I've been mentored, taught by some very good coaches. I've had some mentors that I couldn't replace. The people that's been around me. I've had referees that have been mentoring me. When I started out, he doesn't want me to say his name. I know it because he's just a very humble in particular. But there's a referee that, he kind of took me under his wing years ago, and I was actually I didn't realize it because I was just so new still. I was really coaching some really, really, really some stellar players that were going to soon start doing some really amazing stuff. And it's cool to know that now and to see it. I was like, oh, I didn't know I was coaching that kid. And you learn a lot from that. You learn a lot from the parents. You learn a lot from where your capabilities are. So I think within myself, I just need more growth. I need more growth when it comes to maybe a little patience on how to communicate. And I think that's one of the reasons I haven't jumped out there in certain things.
All right. Now, before we move the show over to your organization and upcoming events for yourself, we have a few viewer questions, including one from my own page here. Let's go to what was your best player experience and your best coaching experience, if you could think of one for each.
Yeah, definitely. Player experience, meaning when I played or in particular player?
I think they mean when you have played personally and
Okay.
when you have coached personally. What is your best of each?
One of my best memories from playing, and it goes down to some of the base level time periods. My father coached, and I'm gonna say the best time I played anything was under my father, and he was a good baseball player also. He played D1 baseball, and he coached a AAU team for me, and well, not for me, but Kempsville Pony, and we had a tie game. I think we were playing Creeds at the time, and we had a tie game. It was like 9-9. It was like the final inning, 2 outs, bases loaded. Just need one run to win. So I'm sitting on third base. We're at bat, and I'm on third, and I'm leading off. And I'm not the quickest person, but I'm fast. So my dad's the third base coach. So he's telling me to go. I'm like, I don't know if I can make it. That pitcher's quick, Dad. I'm just looking at my dad. Like, you see me, right? I ain't the fastest person. So my dad's like, nah, just keep leading off. So the pitcher's looking at me, and I'm just looking at the pitcher. The pitcher's looking at me like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to do this because it's tied. I know it's 2 outs, and this could be it. So my dad sends me. The pitcher throws the first. Pitcher throws the first. I'm on third. I start running to home plate. The first baseman catches it and throws it right to the catcher. Catcher gets it way before I get there. I'm not the quickest person, even though I ran as fast as I could. So he's sitting there with the ball. So I run back, knowing that that's not really going to work out. So I turn to my dad's like, go, keep going, keep going. So I was like, what you want me to do? So my dad said, you're just going to have to bust past him. And I was like, man, I don't know how that's going to work. But what it taught me was just trust your coach. So my father told me to just bust past, and I turn around quick. I run as fast as I can, and I run into the catcher. I knocked the ball out of the catcher's hand. I scored the run. We won the game. Now, won the game, but I'm out. I got the wind straight knocked out of me. I was sitting there. I think I was just like, I was in a bad place for at least good 3-4 minutes. But it was one of my favorite experiences that came with something that hurt a lot. It's probably one of the worst times I got hurt too. Getting your wind knocked out was no joke. But that was probably my favorite player experience. Coaching experience. Um, so many, so many. One I'll speak on recently. Recently, my AAU organization got an invitation to come play at Boo Williams a couple weeks ago. We actually go into full AAU mode yet because got a lot of middle school, high school players. We try to make sure everything's out the way so people are freed up to make practices, do everything the right way. So we got the invitation, and it was for a sixth grade team. Got a good sixth grade team, really good sixth grade team. And like a lot of AAU coaches know, and it's just the truth, your players will play on multiple teams. If your team's really good, your players probably going to play on multiple teams. And I had a few players that were just available. I was kind of surprised. I called up I call them my day ones, one of my players I've had since he was like 5. I'm going to shout him out. His name's Jordan Mitnoff. He's 14 now. Called him up, mind you, sixth grade. So I called him up because we were told that we're going to be bumped up into the 7th, 8th grade pool. So I was like, all right, let me call up Jordan because I didn't have a whole bunch of 14-year-olds really ready to go. Not at that level. I didn't. So I had a good sixth grade team. I got a good sixth grade team. So I called up a couple of my 14-year-olds. I only called up 2, Jordan and Izzy. So we get to the game. We get ready. We suit up. We have 3 games that day. We play the first game, big team. Typically, that's how tournaments are anyway. I ain't really worried about that. So we go out there. We play good. We shot a fair one. We lost the first game. No big deal. We went out there and played very good. Second game, we played. We beat the second game. Another big team. We beat that team. Very proud. Good game. Very good game. Third game. I tell you what, we played a team, and hey, thumbs up to that team. They were big boys. My youngest son, he's a tall good player. He was like, Dad, everybody out there my height. So he was like, I'm not supposed to suit up. I was like, nah, you ain't gonna do that. So I took my squad of 6-year-old, and we signed up for it. Don't get it twisted at all. We signed up for this, and we were happy for it. So I take my 6th graders and then my couple of 14-year-olds. Mind you, we have 8th and 9th graders. It's just the idea of that particular tournament was the 6th graders. And we just had them bumped up, so we just filled in some of the gaps. The idea wasn't to throw a whole bunch of 8th graders out there or 9th, 7th graders out there to try to compete like that. Give those kids an opportunity. Well, the story went like this. We started the game. I think the other team kind of felt they were going to walk through us. Those boys played some good basketball. Our boys, Titans, I mean, I don't think they'll play another game this year that intense. I don't think they'll play another game this year that took that much ability out of them. I mean, I've got a player named Christian Lynch that's been with me he's been with me for a while. Awesome kid, awesome family, and he can play good basketball. Complemented with another player named Jakar that I've had for a very long time, a young man. He's an awesome kid. Awesome. Young for his age. Throw him out there, complement with the rest of the team. And this particular 8th grade team they played, I want to say in the second quarter, the score was 27 us, 19 them. Man, I mean, you should have saw it. Beautiful game so far. Now, realistically, because it is a movie in my mind. Hey, but at the end of the day, it's reality. They took advantage of our weaknesses, which was some height, and they came back. But the respect will never be gone from that. And that would be one of my favorite player moments. Now, team moments, I'll go ahead and just adjust to that, but that will definitely constitute for it. And we did lose, but we definitely fought and played a good game.
Those are probably the best ones, the ones that feel the most competitive and that you feel like you had an effect on getting them to play the way you wanted to play, at least. So
Oh yeah.
I imagine that's probably a particularly good feeling. Let's see some more of these questions here. Let's talk about some skills here for a second. What are the skills needed to succeed, both say in your department, your position? What would you say are the ultimate skills needed for this?
As far as coaching,
Yeah.
okay. Me personally, patience, and it's no one's perfect. We had practice this week, and you can imagine getting back with some boys that's been divided, and they've all been playing on separate high school teams, and they all come back together, and now they're a little older. That's a little special. You need to be a little special to deal with that, I think. But I think with coaching, you have to enjoy it. I've seen great coaches not turn bad, but I've seen how you get affected. I see how, it's tough. It's very, very tough. There's a lot of, I think as a coach, you have to have you have to be confident in your decisions. You have to have great communication with the people you need to be communicating with. That's the biggest piece. It can't be a whole bunch of, I'm gonna tell you this, but I'm gonna do that. I've had situations where I've just said to coaches, like, you could have just told me what you need to tell me. You didn't have to tell me this just to go do that. But I mean, nonetheless, I think communication as a coach is going to give you the most success. It's going to be probably the toughest road, but the most success, because you're gonna be strong and be able to stand on that. So I definitely would say that.
I fully agree. Communication. How else are you going to get the players to do what you think needs to be done in the game if you can't tell them your vision of the court? So
That and your coaches, because you gotta, they have to know what you're thinking too.
mhm. Now for the one of the last ones here regarding some of the commentary questions here. What would you tell parents during recreational games? Probably this could also go for before, maybe some practices, maybe just you have a commentary on what you think the relationship between coaching and parents are.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. The reason I say it's a very good question is that was something I addressed in the beginning of our rec league season, and it's important because rec league sometimes has a lot of players that are new, a lot of parents that are new to the sport, and there's no judgmental. And then you also have parents that they want to raise their children a certain way, and that's what you should be doing. I think that what I would tell parents is understand that you are signing your athlete up for something. You're making a commitment to something. And when you make a commitment to something, no one's dragging you there. No one's forcing you. And when you make that commitment, you kind of just gotta go in there with the most positive attitude, see where you can help. If you go in there with that, it's always been a win. I've never seen a parent that's been willing to help. I've never seen a parent that went in there knowing that they're committed, not enjoy it. So I would tell a parent that.
All right. Now, I think we can take this opportunity to shift over to Titans, VA Titans Youth Basketball and Athletics Organizations. If you could tell us about the history of it, what you're doing with it, what you're doing now, how you look forward to grow, all of that.
Okay. Well, the VA Titans organization, it was started in 2016, co-founded with me and my wife. We basically decided that we, meaning the community I grew up in, the community that I care about, we decided as a community, in my opinion, that we wanted our kids to continue. We wanted our kids to do it in a way that we all felt comfortable. We wanted to build something like that. And that's going to beget good things. There's no doubt in that. And that's what it did beget. So we began in 2016. We decided that we would take the following that we did have, and we would do them the most justice we could. I've always been the person that's like, I'm gonna bend over backwards and do the best I can for anybody that is anyone. And we took that motor, that energy, and we did some good training. We invited out a host of participants, coaches, community leaders, and they assisted. I mean, our coaching staff extended from Tallwood High School's head coaching, Brandon Middle School's head coaching. It extended. It just extends. You know, some of my coaches have been superintendents for the I want to say for Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. I got to be clear on that, but it just extends to the point where we definitely want to do a hands-on big net of a situation. So once we were able to like get everyone in line, we decided that this organization was going to be not like more the same. I mean, no cast on anything. There's a place for it. You know, and just to say this little side piece, you know, the AU, the aggressive, the all that extra, there's a point and there's a need for that. Some players are different, and you have to be able to set something up for them to succeed. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones. I'm talking about the non-majority, because I'm not. That's a smaller market. So the VA Titans were set up for the regular kid. You know, we take any player, and it's not that we take any player and make them good or make them better. But the idea of the VA Titans is to take any player and not give up on them, not to typecast them, not to say, oh, you're a big, so you're just going to play a center. No. Anybody know me? And shout out to AJ. I'll take my big, he'll dribble around you, shoot outside three, and you wouldn't know what hit you. So, I mean, that's you know, how the Titans kind of came across out of the need for community.
That's how you create Joel Embiid's.
Yeah, and he's
I think regarding VA Titans, that could follow up with this next question here from Miss Andrea Dixon. What has been the greatest lesson you learned while in your position?
That's interesting. Well, what I've learned is that it's never going to be done with surprises. I've never like I consider myself very like understanding and not like not aware. You know, there. You know, sometimes I'll just stare like I'm not, but I'll just be like, because I'm just taking it in sometimes. But what I've learned from coaching, from my position, is that you have a lot of responsibility. Um, Even when you're conducting yourself in a proper way, you could have stuff going on miles away, nowhere around you, and it has to do with you. And I think from a coach, what I've learned is that you have to understand your responsibility. You have to be aware of your responsibility. You got to know you got to know that these youngins is out here. You know, they're out here being youngins, and if you're going to take on that mantle of this responsibility of an elder and try to lead and shape, you got to be on top of that. So I think that's one of the biggest things I learned, not to take it for granted. You know, just like everyone that might have kids or take care of a child, you can't take certain things for granted. You kind of got to have your eyes open the whole time.
Now, tomorrow you're part of the Making of a Man event, and I understand it's the third annual one.
Actually, not to cut you off, that's the 19th.
19th, Making
Yes,
of a Man event. All right. No, correct me when you need to correct me, like a coach would. Tell us all about this event and how important it is.
Okay, I'm glad you brought it up. It is going to be March 19th, and everyone can come. We do have a registration field set up, but if you don't register, you're still going to be welcome. Well, this event that'll be taking place at the Central Library in Virginia Beach from 12 to 4 p.m. March 19th. This event is something that we didn't just come up with. And when I say we, and that's one thing about me, you hear a lot of we and our. There's not a lot of I and mine in our organization or anything that we got. We have no ownership on anything. There's no I and mine. So y'all watch when y'all hear those words. But it's something that we created about 4 years ago, COVID took 1 year out of the loop because we didn't bring everyone together due to obvious reasons. But in the beginning, initially, it started out like most things, small. We started out with some of our young youth, our local leaders that were participating. Um, just our young men, our elder men giving their time to try to bestow some gems that they have that, for example, when you're younger, you might not even know how to tie a tie. You might have had someone show you how to tie a tie, but there's certain small things that we kind of not lose touch of, but we take for granted. Making that a man has nothing to do with like any type of chauvinist type mindset. I mean, it just has to do with young youth, men, boys, just having, if you ever think that like, who can I talk to about this? Or I feel like that. Is this okay to express myself this way? My voice sounds like this sometimes. So we just wanted to make something that like kind of made a man or a youth or a young youth feel like, okay, I can look forward to this. Eventually within growth, we would like it to become something where the youth can just come together and be straight business for a couple of days and compare notes and say, okay, next year we'll get back together, see that everybody's on the same track, we're all going down the right road and everyone's good. That's the idea of it. And it takes the beginning steps, and we're going through the steps, the motion. And this event is going to be like last year, which was awesome. It's going to have some guests. It's going to have some guests that I actually had the fortunate to grow up with. It's not about celebrity or looking for people that are like the pop. Anyone knows me, I'm not about any of that. I'm not about the popularity. I'm not about the end game. I'm not about any of that. I'm about what you really need to know, in my opinion. And I try to reach out to individuals that were those people, individuals that will stand up, not to stand up and like fight or argue or anything, but to stand up to get their point of view across.
Now, if you could wrap the entirety of both that coaching, everything we've discussed tonight, sort of into your vision, if you could break down where you see yourself and your efforts and the many other coaches that and sport organizations that in Hampton Roads, how that sort of ties into the empowerment for all of us, because that's something we definitely like to highlight here at the Beach Brothers Show. It's community empowerment. I know coaching can do that. So how does your vision come into that?
Well, I would say that, for an example, as far as how it kind of works and bleeds and how it all blends together. When the organization started in 2016, we started out at the Virginia Beach Field House. We were able to network and communicate without the particular individual at that time that was running it. Just speaking on, because Virginia Beach hired a heck of a good person, and his name was Lance Hurdle. And I mean, what a blessing. And so the reason I bring him up is he actually no longer worked in that particular position, that capacity. He moved on to some other things. We worked together, communicated, compared notes, and I've seen the effect of not the Titans to take any credit, but I've seen his coaching style evolve. I've seen him do things that I know he's learned, not being told, and that comes from the tight, not to say the Titans, but that comes from that being there. And one of the biggest things that I've seen that brings it kind of full circle is when I see that person continuing on the path that I continued on, that other people have continued on. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in, not ownership, just pride to see it, because that takes such a commitment, and just to bring up another in particular, his name is George James. And I bring him up because I'm speaking of making of a man, but this is one particular individual that, he's primarily been a female basketball coach, primarily. And when you talk about making of a man, the individual has taught me things that have went full circle to where I'm utilizing them now in this position and in this particular capacity. And that just comes from just kind of just being around the right people, being the right type of person. I do think that this position can create situations that are just kind of unfortunate sometimes. Sometimes even within my own organization, nothing's perfect. And what we learn through time is how we can make things as good as possible. I've had situations where coaches have maybe felt like they seen a different vision, but the positive about that is they're here. You know what I mean? They're out there, they're trying to contribute to the community there. And I feel like that spawns from not just the Titans organization, but it spawns from just the community organization.
All right. Now, I believe we sort of have come to our conclusion, our end of the show tonight, Mr. Barclift. I thank you for speaking with us, of course. But if you could do us all a solid and give the viewers all we would need to know to follow up with you, communications, perhaps parents might down the line want to have a kid they want to join all this. So just shout out all your organizations and websites and emails and everything.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to shout out and thank Conrad. But you can reach us at VA Titans Youth Athletics. You can catch that on Facebook, Instagram, and we also have a Twitter under the same name, VA Titans Youth Athletics. Also, our Making of the Man event that will be March 19th. You can find the link on our Facebook page that's open to the public. And also, we do have featured guests. Those featured guests are named on our Facebook page, so you can take the time and check those out. I won't name them all here, but I will give Conrad the exclusive because I haven't put it out there yet. But we will have Delegate Askew there, and along with
Alex Askew, yeah,
along with some more special guests. And when I say special, like I said, it's not about popularity. Trust me, we know names, but it's not. So the people that are there are really people who want to talk to your youth. I have another individual, his name's Martin Joseph, that I can't even, I don't, and Andre White. And other than that, you guys, I just wish y'all would check it out. March 19th, 12 to 4, Central Library in Virginia Beach. And, other than that, man, it's definitely been a fantastic conversation. I appreciate you, Conrad. And I didn't shout you out, Allison, co-founder, Allison Barclift. We definitely appreciate you. Thank you, too.
Indeed. Again, thank you so much for coming on, just talking about coaching, community, and everything. And definitely down the line, we'll see you. And everyone go see the Making of a Man event. And I hope you have a great night.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Conrad.
Thank you. Now, this has been another great, fantastic Beach Brothers show. I'll be following up with local politics and state politics, looking for any updates on budgets. I would like you guys, of course, to join the Hampton Roads Community Action Team, the Battle Cats, compelling our agenda economically, politically, and socially. Of course, also look to the Virginia Beach Progressive Caucus. Co-founded that, so I want you guys to get involved with local politics the same way that we are as well. In the meantime, we're looking to have Virginia Beach Parks and Recreation Director Michael Kirschman as our next guest on the Beach Brothers Show, March 17th. Stay safe this weekend, and the Beach Brothers Show will catch you next time.
This show was brought to you by Positive Vibes Incorporated, our consulting services. We do credit fixes, we do tax resolution, we lend private money, and debt consolidation. So if you need some of these services, we're waiting here for you. Credit fixes, tax resolutions, private money, and debt consolidation. Make sure you call Positive Vibes Incorporated.
And of course, shouting out Mr. Jose Cruz as well.
It's never too early or too late to plan for retirement. Let me show you how to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your assets from loss due to catastrophic decisions that may affect you the rest of your life. Please call me.